Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be watching Snake King playing Bounty Hunter support. This is a hero that received a major buff this patch in the change that now, when he uses Shadow Walk, it no longer slows, rather it stuns. And what's important to note for me is that most stuns in Dota have been nerfed. Right? Almost every single stun in the game. However, Bounty Hunter's Shadow Walk, which is a pretty low committal ability, stuns for 1.6 seconds, which is really nothing to laugh at. At first glance, when I read that this ability was going to stun, I genuinely believe I would have guessed it would be a 0.8, 0.6 second stun. You know, somewhat of a mini stun. But this is a legit stun, and let's see how Snake King takes advantage of that in a 10.6k average MMR match. And also another quick thing, I just want to let you guys know that the Gamely website is 50% off right now if you use code DOTA733. I'm saying that because over there I'm covering every build I want to talk about. Yes, I want to do that on YouTube, and I will be making plenty of videos here on this YouTube channel, but I can't cover everything on YouTube. There's just too much to talk about. So a lot of the videos, a lot of the discussions and builds that I want you guys to try are going to be over on the website. I'm going to be posting over there 2 videos a day, a lot of videos to check out. And so yeah, go subscribe. So you have a couple of options in the early laning stage. Snake King opts to go for Janata, and I think that makes sense in this lane in particular. He's laning against a Timber IO. There's not too much harass potential in this lane, so he can kind of just walk around Janataing people. However, if you're in a lane that has a lack of sustain, or it's a little bit difficult for Bounty, I've personally played against Bounty Hunters who use Shadow Walk to close the distance on a squishy position 4 or a squishy position 5, hit them a bunch, and then run away. And considering it's a 1 second stun, which is pretty good, it's a 1 second stun at level 1, it really is hard to play against for most of these squishy supports, right? They just simply cannot trade. Also, something you want to note with Bounty Hunter is his hero's base movement speed. It's 325, his base damage is 60, his base armor is 8, and now you can buy blood grenades, which do 115 damage, and on top of that it slows, so this hero's kill potential early on into the lane is ridiculous, especially with lane dominating heroes. Another angle that people are taking is that they're throwing Shuriken at people. Shuriken doesn't mini-stun anymore, but it slows for 100% for 0.35 seconds. So it's pretty good at chasing people. You can kind of see the idea. You take your Shuriken, you take your Shadow Walk, and you take your Janata, and you just do a ton of overall damage, especially at level 3 if you decide to go that route, as he's able to chase down the Timber Saw. Unfortunately, you are going to have to spend a lot of gold committing on these kills, and it's kind of the upside or downside, however you want to look at it, of Blood Grenade. It's going to get you those kills, but you're gonna have to spend 65 gold. Thankfully in this patch it's almost always worth it because of the fact that they changed the kill gold formula, giving kills a little bit more gold. And so yeah, before we move on into the laning stage, I just want to say, like, I've laned against this hero a couple times as Bounty 5, and I've had a hard time playing against it. My signature hero of this patch that I've been spamming is Alk position 3, and Alk really hates laning against Bounty in my experience because the Bounty can steal your gold, and then he has such high armor where if you ever try to go on him with acid spray and concoction, or you just try to trade with him in general, it doesn't do anything because this guy's armor is 8. So yeah, essentially Snake King decides to sit in the lane this game and steal gold from the Timber Saw, and frankly it's not a bad strategy. 12 gold is a lot. I don't think people realize how much gold swing 12 gold is. If you hit someone 4 times, you're stealing 96 total gold, like it's a 96 gold swing, and that's a lot in the early laning stage, considering the ability is a 9-second cooldown. Every single minute you can steal up to what, I think it's like 72-ish gold? I mean, that really is a lot, guys. If you're consistent about it, especially when you hit level 3, people just can't lane against it. You're gonna really grief their overall gold. So one thing as well that I didn't get to mention that I want to quickly talk about now as he tries to contest a flag bearer creep mid. That's kind of weird. Yeah, he's going to ward right now. But one thing you can also do is you can take the Shadow Walk at level 1. You can try to gank a tri-lane. So for instance, he could have started top here, try to first blood the Enchantress, who's pretty squishy, and then go back to his lane using the teleporter. That's obviously a little bit risky if you're laning in the off lane, because the off lane has to start the lane in a bad spot. But if you're playing position 5 like Snake King is, it's actually not that bad because your safe laner probably won't get zoned off the first wave. You can gank your off lane, take the portal, and your safe laner won't get really sacked because of it. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to take blood grenades and skill Shadow Walk. It's really great at getting first blood in the enemy off lane if you're position 5 Bounty Hunter. So from there, one of the nice things about Bounty Hunter, well, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of his skill build because I think Shadow Walk is a little bit too important for this point in the game, but one of the nice things about Bounty Hunter is he's really great at controlling the wisdom runes. So That's too funny. Yeah, people know to fight the wisdom runes now, but fortunately for him, he gets that wisdom rune and takes it away. And Bounty Hunter in this current meta with this huge map is going to be fantastic because for a couple of reasons, okay? Number one, Bounty Hunter is a hero that takes advantage of a lack of sentry wards. They actually nerfed the quantity of sentry wards in the game. Bounty Hunter is also a hero that plays around vision, and in a 40% bigger map, Bounty Hunter thrives, right? He's just one of those heroes that's going to be able to give you information of where everyone is when they're split up in this massive map. And on top of that, I've been saying this for a while, but I think courier sniping is a super legit strat as they try to kill the Timber. Courier sniping is super legit. Like really legit. The reason why I think that is it just gives a crazy amount of gold. And lastly, in this meta of fighting, early fighting, the track gold definitely is nice. People are going to be going for more kills as kills are worth a bit more. And so essentially it can be really nice to fight around track in the early game. Now at this point of the game, what you want to do as Bounty Hunter is look to get down deep wards your team can smoke to. On top of that, you can kind of look to, pick up wisdom runes, take over the watcher thingies, whatever these things are called. You can basically go around the map making plays. On top of that, once you have track, you kind of want to start to look to group up with your mid laner, your position 4, and your off laner. And it's very important that when you do this, you have clarities, you have raindrops, you have magic wand. Most players are going tranquil boots from what I've seen into drums. And that definitely makes sense. Going tranquils into drums makes you tanky enough that when you track people, you have so much movement speed and HP that you can run away. He also took Fated Brooch to make sure he has enough mana pool to sustain his spells and to make sure that he has a bit of extra movement speed when running away. Okay, one thing I want to quickly talk about is this ward that's snaking places. I think this ward is really crucial, or wards in this general area, and people aren't going to understand this for a while, at least the average player, but I want to quickly talk about it. So wards in this general location are huge. First things first, outposts don't give true sight or don't give vision anymore, so you don't have to really worry about them. But what's important to note about this ward in particular is it's going to give general vision of people using the portals to get across the map, and it's going to scout out this camp. And these two things are huge. Portals are going to dictate a lot of Dota. They are. People are going to use them to move around the map very quickly, set up plays, and split the map. On top of that, when the game is in any game state, no matter what, these camps will get taken. Okay, they will get taken because of the fact that the enemy team, at least in this game in particular, has a Naga Siren and a Timber. They have very heavy farming heroes. Now, even if they don't, it's very likely whether or not you're winning or losing, the enemy is going to be keeping the map open, splitting up the map, and farming these camps. If they're not doing this and they're just fighting you off cooldown, of course, in that case, it's better to preserve your wards for hill wards and team fights. But in a game like this, once again, with an IO, Spirit Breaker, right, a lot of global presence, a Timbersaw and a Naga who are going to be farming all the camps, it's very important to scout out the portals for that global presence map setup, right, the ganks that they might set up. And on top of that, the camps that Naga and Timber will farm. That extra bit of information is going to allow your team to set up kills and read the map way better. I just see a lot of support players still only placing wards in the average location, right? They're basically only, I love that you can just run past the outpost now. I basically see them only placing wards and sentries in the regular Dota map. It's like Dota hasn't changed for some reason with warding for a lot of players. Like I can tell you for a fact, I've watched a lot of the replays. I'm almost never scouted out when I'm farming this deep jungle. And I just think it's a huge mistake because people think like, oh, but it's, but it's not good for team fights. It's not going to help me fight. But it's like, it will, because it will allow you to set up better team fights because you're going to have information of when the enemy carry is literally across the map from his team. From there, in terms of team fights, there's nothing crazy about Bounty Hunter. You really just want to track people as much as possible. The biggest gripe I have with the average Bounty Hunter player is they don't throw out nearly enough tracks. They kind of just run in and then like throw out one track and then 9 seconds later, even though it's a 4-second cooldown, they just barely throw out tracks. So you can see you want to track. It's going to allow your team to finish off kills when people try to kite out on low HP. It's also very important to note that track gives you bonus movement speed when you're around it. This ability is just huge, right? It's the whole point of Bounty Hunter. And then when you track everyone, the shurikens bounce, right? They bounce, they slow for 0.35 seconds, which is certainly not terrible. And this adds up to making you a pretty useful hero in team fights. On top of that, now you can also run in and click Shadow Walk. And then with that Shadow Walk, you can try to hit people and mini stun them. Well, it's not even a mini stun. You can stun them, which isn't bad as well, but do not force it. The Shadow Walk should only be used if someone is isolated, and that's it. If they're not isolated, do not run into 5 heroes. It is not worth it. The only time you should do that is if you are hyper farmed and you have like Vanguard and a cloak and raindrops, and then you can do things like that. But yeah, here we're going to see the power of Bounty Hunter. He's able to scout out the Naga Siren here in the jungle. And this is what I'm talking about. You place a deep ward top because you're bonus vision. Then you can scout out anyone on the opposite side of the map. You can kind of close them in. with the information you provide. And so really I believe that the main reason Bounty Hunter has a high win rate right now, and will continue to have a high win rate, is I really think it's really great in the laning stage at getting that first blood, going for those early kills, being a complete nuisance, especially with the blood grenades. And then when you get into the mid to late game, I mean, if your team is snowballing, it goes crazy, right? If your team is snowballing, it's just Bounty Hunter snowballing, right? It's just track gold, galore. However, even if the game is even or hard like this one, typically I feel like Bounty wouldn't do as much. It's just too easy to read the hero. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of knew where he would come from. You'd place an obs and a sentry on a hill, and he would run into it at some point. But there's just too many places for him to run through now, right? He can literally run up the side of the map if he wants to, all the way around and place a ward. And for instance here, he kind of just runs up the lane because there's just too much map to cover. I mean, a big thing as well is people don't even place wards mid as much, right? From my experience, or at least they shouldn't, because of the fact that fights don't happen mid a lot, right? Dota, at least at a high level, I'm not going to say this is the case for your average pub, but at least at a high level, tends to revolve around the side lanes for the most part. And the reason why is because of these portals and all the camps around the side. If you want to get farmed, you play the side, right? There's just nothing mid. There are a couple of camps near the mid lane, and that's what the mid laner generally farms, at least early on. But yeah, he's able to place a deep ward here. That's going to scout out the IO. They can obviously set up a kill on him later on, which they're looking to do right now. And, oh, nope, they actually got caught. Okay, they were on a ward. And that's kind of the name of the game with this patch. It's just like this crazy warding battle, right? Like, I really feel like a big part of this patch, or maybe the biggest part of this patch, is going to be how good our supports at dewarding and tracking wards on the enemies. Because if they can track the enemy wards, perhaps they can get dewards, but otherwise, it's brutally difficult. And Bounty Hunter is just going to be the best support in the game, outside of maybe Slark position 4, because his ulti literally tells him if he's on a ward, or Zeus, I guess, because you can bolt hills, but Zeus can't really, disengage too well. I just wanted to make a video about this here to kind of talk about this. And finally, to end off the video, I just want to talk about itemization a little bit as we'll look into a team fight. This game has mostly just been a farming fest, which isn't too exciting for Bounty Hunter, but I thought it was a cool game to cover regardless. But essentially, in terms of itemization, it's the same as before. Oh, nice black hole. It's the same as before. It's really about understanding the game. In this game, they have a Naga Siren, and so buying a Lotus Orb is huge because Naga Siren relies on Orchid and Net to kill people. If you can dispel that, she doesn't do any damage. Also, if you can kite her net in general, she also can't kill anyone, and so he bought a Force Staff and a Drums of Endurance. Drums are just a broken item. They make everyone really fast, hit really fast as well. And it makes you really tanky. So yeah, this item is just straight up broken. I've been saying this for a long time, that it's under purchased, and now finally it's purchased on like everyone. So that was pretty cool. Force Staff, Glimmer. Another cool item you can buy as well is this shield thingy. What even is it called? I forget. Yeah, the Pavise. It's also a cool item you can buy. Bounty Hunter's HP pool doesn't really love buying it, but you can buy drums into Pavise. And then, I hope I'm saying that right. It sounds weird. Pavise? I don't know. But on an 18-second cooldown, you can give someone 300 magic block. It's really pretty solid. Like, for only 1,400 gold, it's a lot of magic block. And what's cool about the item is if you're having mana problems on Bounty, right? Because Drums it gives you mana pool, but it doesn't give you mana regen. This item gives 2.5 mana regen, which is high for a 1,400 gold item. It also builds from Fluffy Hat, which is not bad. And then you can also cast this thing on yourself, which is pretty cool, right? You can sort of just buff yourself up and then run in and use it on teammates. And 300 block is a lot for only 1,400 gold. It's pretty similar to Hood of Defiance in a lot of ways. But I would say it's better on something like Bounty Hunter because it's particularly good at like buffing up squishy cores like Zeus, who might be getting dove by a hero like Phantom Assassin, at least in the early game. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all. But remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.